I was afraid this might happen.
Will she be all right?
She's very weak, of course. That's only to be expected. I shall want some more hot water.
Yes, Doctor.
She's very weak, of course. She's very weak, of course. She's very weak, of course. She's very weak, of course.
Will she be all right? Will she be all right? Will she be all right? Will she be all right?
The heir to this house is Vinnie. If ever you...
So it's you again, Miss Fuller. 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 And you've lost another situation with your independent ways. Now listen to me. This is a registry office, not an orphanage. So long as you come to me for help, please remember I require respectable females who will do their duty in whatever situation it pleases me and Providence to place them. Now, here's a Mrs. Winterbourne, once a companion. £16 a year, all found. Go and see her. And remember, as far as this office is concerned, you've had your last chance.
Really, Miss Fuller, you make more noise than ever just because I ask you to be quieter. I do believe you're purposely annoying me because it tires my poor throat to have to complain so often. You know the doctor said it would be better if I didn't have to talk so much. You better give me my drops. I should have had them 10 minutes ago. It's bad enough having to lie here helpless without having to put up with your inefficiency and bad temper. Do you hear? Can't you even answer when I speak to you? Violets. How much did you pay for those, may I ask?
A penny.
Oh, well, if you think you can squander the £16 a year I pay you on such fripperies, I suppose that's your affair. That's all for this evening, but don't sit idle. All you girls take advantage of a nice room to yourself. And if I should ring my bell, please arrange to hear it.
Letter for you, Miss Fuller. Came by the last post.
Thank you, Ellen.
I've been ringing this bell incessantly for the last 10 minutes. I won't stand such neglect. I might have been dying. You know I can't get out of bed once I'm banked up with hot water bottles, and yet you most carefully left my copy of Ministering Children where I can't reach it. Will you please get it for me?
With pleasure, Mrs. Winterbourne.
Good gracious, girl, what's come over you?
I'm leaving you, Mrs. Winterbourne. Tomorrow.
Leaving me? But you can't do that after all I've done for you.
All you've done for me. That's wonderful. My dear Mrs. Winterbourne, allow me to tell you something. Ever since my father and mother died 6 years ago, I've been working night and day for people like you. Rich, selfish, pampered women. Don't interrupt, that's what you are. Well, it's gone on long enough. I'm 25, and I have a right, Mrs. Winterbourne, to a very different life from this. But now I have the chance, and I'll stop at nothing to make the most of it. I'm Miss Blanche Fuller.
Oh, Miss Fuller. Glad to see you, miss.
My uncle is expecting me.
Mr. Fury has gone to the station to meet you.
I should like to come in, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, miss. William, get Miss Fuller's luggage. Would you care to wait in the drawing room, miss? This way, please. I'll tell Mr. Fury you're here as soon as he returns, miss.
It's easy to see who you are.
Is it?
You're so exactly like the portrait of your father. I do hope we're going to be good friends.
Do you think that likely?
Well, is there any reason why we should not?
Is there any reason why we should?
Oh, really, this is a strange sort of a welcome.
Expect me to meet you at the door? With flowers?
No, but I expected a little politeness. However, Cousin Lawrence, if that's the way you feel about it, I have no intention of imposing my company on you.
Didn't you come from the station with your uncle?
No, we missed each other.
Pity. Still, you won't have to wait long. I think I can hear him coming now.
Good. I hope he's more agreeable to meet than his son.
He isn't.
Cousin Lawrence!
Here I am. I'm sorry we missed you. You are my cousin Blanche.
Yes. So you're Lawrence.
Who did you think I was? Here she is, Father, safe and sound.
Ah, my dear Blanche.
I regret that we missed each other at the station. Doubtless you were anxious to get here as quickly as possible.
Yes, Uncle, I was.
Sit down. Blanche, I have sometimes regretted that your poor father's temperament made it impossible for the two families to meet. But now you're welcome to Clare Hall. Isn't that so, Lawrence?
Glad to have her. Very.
And now that you're here, we must... What is it, Thorne?
I've examined that gun of Mr. Lawrence's. The left trigger hammer is defective. It should be repaired.
Very well, Thorne.
Will Miss Fuller go out riding with Mr. Lawrence in the morning?
No, Thorne.
Good night, Mr. Fury.
Good night, Thorne. I think we may find it a little confusing for the servants if you continue to use the name of Fuller. When we inherited this estate from the widow of Adam Fury, whose portrait you see there, we took the family name. I think it would be advisable for you to do the same. I take it you've no objections.
None, if you wish it, Uncle.
Now, doubtless you'd like to be shown up to your room. Dinner is at 8. And if you can be dressed by 7:30, I shall be glad of your company in the library for half an hour.
Yes, Uncle. Are you Louisa?
Yes, miss. Can I unbutton the dress?
Oh, yes. Please. You aren't English, are you?
No, miss. I'm Italian.
This is the Italian room. That surely cannot be coincidence.
No, miss. I came here with an Italian lady 40 years ago. This was her room.
Hello. You're Lavinia, aren't you? Shouldn't you be in bed? What's the matter, darling? Couldn't you sleep? Were you frightened? There's nothing to be frightened of. Won't you show me what a brave girl you are and go back to bed? Will you try if I go with you? Yes. Come along, then. There, you see? There's nothing to be afraid of. Now, into bed with you. Ooh, cold toes. Down quickly.
Who are you?
I'm your Aunt Blanche. I've come to look after you. Do you think you're going to like me? Listen, Lavinia. You try and go to sleep like a good girl. I'll leave the door open so that you can see the light from the passage. Will that do?
Come in.
Uncle Simon, can Lavinia have a candle for her bedroom?
Sit down, please. I think I should tell you straight away, Blanche. I don't wish you to make a mollycoddle of Lavinia. I shall ask you to look upon yourself as a governess. A kind one, but a strict one.
Yes, Uncle.
I shall also ask you to undertake the supervision of the household in general. In return, I shall provide you with your wardrobe and an allowance of £25 a year. And another thing, Blanche. You've already met our steward, Philip Thorne. He's not a very pleasant fellow, and he has a grievance which makes him even less so. I only continue to employ him because of an obligation.
And surely he can have no grievance against you, Uncle.
I'll explain very frankly what it is, Blanche. This property came to us because the last of the Furies, Adam Fury, had no children. I say he had no children. I should say he had no legitimate children. He had indeed some romantic adventure with an Italian woman, and Philip Thorne is their natural son. He has, of course, no claim at all to the estate, but as I say, he cherishes a grievance.
I think you're very kind to keep him on, Uncle.
No, he runs this place extremely well, but he's inclined to be familiar. Remember that he's a servant.
I shall certainly treat him as such.
Is he in?
Good afternoon, Mr. Thorne. And what brings you here?
The fact that I'm tired of waiting, Mr. Calamine.
You know, my friend, I asked you to be patient.
Patient? Would you be patient? Employed on an estate that should be yours?
But, Mr. Thorne, we have yet to prove that it should be your estate.
That's exactly what I'm waiting for you to do, Mr. Calamine. Are you handling this case or aren't you?
Mr. Thorne, I told you many years ago when you first came to me that we'd very little to rest your case on. It was only 3 months ago when we had the good fortune to trace your mother's letters that I first became hopeful. Now at least we know the places that she and Adam Fiore visited in Italy. We can have the registers examined and see if a marriage ceremony really did take place.
How long have I to be patient? Can't you imagine how I feel, being ordered about by these people, these fellas, strutting about the place? Can't you understand? Claire's been in my family for generations. It's in my blood. It isn't a question of words written in ink or a lot of papers and laws and seals. It's part of me.
Really, Mr. Thorne, your attitude doesn't make it any easier for me to help you.
I know, Mr. Calamine, and I need your help. I need it badly.
Rely on me, Mr. Thorne. If there's any record in the places mentioned, you may be sure my agents in Italy will find it. But it will take time. Good evening, Mr. Thorne.
Thank you, Mr. Calamine.
That was much better, Lavinia, darling. As for you, Cousin Lawrence, you're patience itself.
Thorne, have you any news?
No. Ames and Elliot have been all over the estate. There's an offense down and the gates are all shut. Those horses were stolen. In my opinion, they were stolen by gypsies.
My father wants you to ride into Stafford and inform the police.
Police? By the time they do anything, the horses will be sold out of the county.
Those are my father's orders. See that they're carried out. Come, Lavinia, this is your last chance. If you disobey me this time, I'll have you sent to bed.
Try to do as Father says, dear, and don't hold on to the saddle. Try very hard, and then you shall have a special treat.
Good morning, Miss Fuller. We're expecting you to ride today. Your horse is waiting.
Mr. Lawrence wanted me to be here. I'll ride this afternoon while Miss Lavinia is resting.
You'll need a rest after that.
Elliot, has Mr. Thorne left for Stafford yet?
I don't think so, miss.
Do you know where I can find him?
No, miss, but Ames would know. He's in the granary.
Thank you. Where is Mr. Thorne?
He's in his room, miss.
Oh, thank you, Ames.
May I ask to what I owe this honor?
You may. Do you mind if I sit down? Mr. Thorne, you have a habit of speaking to me in a way that I don't like. As I may be here for a long time, I thought we might try to come to some understanding.
Yes, Miss Fuller.
Why do you persist in calling me by that name? Or has it escaped your notice I'm now called Miss Fury?
I find these sudden changes of name difficult to get used to.
So I've heard. However, I should like you to try. After all, I am a member of the family.
Oh, yes, of course. And there's no reason why you shouldn't take anything they take, is there?
What do you mean?
Just that. They've taken the name of Fury, why shouldn't you?
I suppose you think it's very presumptuous on the part of a mere governess.
You may not always be a governess. I'm sure that possibility has occurred to you.
Perhaps. And what would you say then, Mr. Thorne?
I should say congratulations, Miss Fury. Or again, congratulations, Mrs. Fury, according to whatever name you were adopting at the time.
I think you're one of the most arrogant people I've ever met, Mr. Thorne.
I come of an arrogant family. And since you've taken that family's name, you should perhaps know its legend. And why, 700 years ago, Alaric Fury adopted a Barbary ape as his crest. He captured it on his way to the First Crusade. Shortly afterwards, he was killed in battle. But the ape loved his master so much that he would allow no one to come near his body when they wanted to bury him. The legend has it that the ape still watches over the rights of the Furies. Hence the motto, beware Fury's ape.
A very interesting story, Mr. Thorne, but it has nothing to do with reality.
We shall see, Miss Fury.
Yes, we shall see.
Hi, Molly.
Hello. I was beginning to think you'd forgotten me.
I don't forget old friends.
Nor do I. What'll you have to drink?
Oh, whiskey.
Good day, gentlemen. Want anything? Staying in Stafford for the night?
No.
Now, you get along out of here. We don't want to buy anything today.
Wait. Let's see what you've got.
God bless you both. Buy something pretty for the lady, mister.
How long have you gypsies been in these parts?
Gypsies come today, mister.
Hmm? It's funny. I was asking the police about you. They said you'd been here 3 or 4 days.
Gypsies bring good luck, mister.
Not in my experience. Where's your camp?
Oh, a long way away, mister. Over the hills.
I'll take these. Here you are, Molly. With my love.
Well, aren't you a dear?
So your camp is over the hills, is it? Where's that exactly?
Gypsy, tell the lady's fortune.
Oh, go on. Get out of here.
Thank you, mister. God bless you, lady.
Mr. Thorne, I think I know where the stolen horses are. I've just seen them at a gypsy camp.
Where's that?
Over the hills. If you follow me, I'll show you.
Good. Which way?
This way.
That's Westwood and the mayor. I'm going in to get them round.
Don't you think we ought to go back to Claire and get some of the stablemen?
No, there's not time. They're breaking camp. Look. In an hour or two, they'll be gone. Will you help?
Of course. What do you want me to do?
Approach the camp from the other direction. Ask the way back to Stafford. That'll attract their attention and give me time. Now, look, they're a rough crowd. Keep a safe distance, and if any sign of trouble, get out fast.
Questi Mandy!
Good afternoon. I've lost my way. Can you help me? Could you tell me the way to Stafford? got them back, Uncle Simon.
Blanche, where have you been?
We paid a polite visit to the gypsies.
We?
They gave us a very warm welcome.
Did you go with the police?
No, sir. Went alone.
I want a word with you, Thor, in your quarters.
Very good.
Lawrence, perhaps you'll escort Blanche back to the house. You'd better go and say goodnight to Lavinia, my dear. She won't go to sleep until she knows you're back.
We were all very worried about you, Blanche. We were afraid you'd had an accident.
Strange that you didn't look more pleased to see me then.
I think we should have, had you been alone.
It was very rash of you. My niece might have been hurt. Besides, you've no right to take the law into your own hands like that.
I was thinking of Claire. I presume that's what I'm paid to do.
You presume too much and too often. You used to have informed the police. Tomorrow we could have gone over to the camp and made an arrest.
Tomorrow would have been too late. They'd have gone.
Oh, we could have had them followed.
You shouldn't know whom to follow. There are a great many in the district already.
Oh, well, there won't be for long. I intend to discuss with my neighbors a plan for dealing with these gypsies once and for all. As to my niece, I forbid you to enter into conversation with her again, and I shall tell her so. Kindly remember that.
We've become very fond of you, Blanche. We think of you as one of us. I hope you'll be that more and more.
This is a great day for Claire, Fury.
It is indeed, thank you, Doctor.
Well, it's a great day for all of us. Those confounded gypsies began to move out this afternoon. I got word from my head keeper just before I left.
They seem to have taken the eviction quietly.
Yes.
What else can they do?
Good evening, Mrs. Fury. Would you care to dance?
No, thank you. I don't think I'll dance again for a little while. I should like to go out on the terrace.
In that case, may I accompany you?
By all means. Well, aren't you going to say it?
Say what?
Congratulations, Mrs. Fury.
Your husband's the one to be congratulated. It's very strange for me to be here tonight. This is the first time in many years that I've been in any room in this house except the gun room. And I'm invited here as a guest with all the rest of the staff, though I'm the only real Fury here.
You were thinking that as you came in, weren't you? You looked at everything so possessively.
Everything, Mrs. Fury?
I didn't mean that.
Did you think it?
Of course not.
Why are you wasting yourself on it? Is it for position and security? You may not even be able to keep those. One day this place is coming back to its rightful owners. And as you've been to so much trouble to make it yours, that may be at your expense.
How can that be?
Have you forgotten the legend of Fury's ape?
Look! Something's on fire!
All clear men, get down to the barns. Tell Ames to saddle the horses. Come, Lawrence.
helpless. It's helpless. The barn's out of control.
Look over there! The ricks are alight!
That's no accident. It's those infernal gypsies, and they're still on the estate. I put the brood mares in that field.
All right, Thorne, leave the barn, stakes out the men and see to the mares. We'll try and catch some of the devils.
Right, sir.
Come on, the rest of you, follow me.
Hey, Joe, bring your horse up here.
Louisa, is there any news?
Mr. Thorne has come back. No one else yet. One of the mares has started to fall. He's with her.
Tell everybody to go to bed. You certainly must.
But I'm not tired.
Will you wait up alone, Miss Blanche?
Yes, Louisa.
Madam, I should say now, shouldn't I?
I'm afraid my wedding hasn't brought the family good luck, Louisa. Perhaps Fury's ape doesn't approve of me.
You must not say that.
You don't think there's any truth in any of these old stories, do you, Louisa?
It is better not to think of such things.
No. No, of course I shan't.
Come along, darling. It's late.
Oh, that's all right, my sweetheart. You'll be all right now. Hello, Gypsy. That's your name, whether you like it or not. Have you been there long?
Not very. You're gentle with animals, aren't you?
Yes. I like animals.
Was much damage done?
No. Apart from the barns, not much.
And my uncle and Lawrence? Have you any news of them?
Mrs. Fury, why have you come here?
Our conversation on the terrace was interrupted.
I had nothing further to say.
Do you seriously believe in all that superstitious nonsense about Fury's ape?
You're afraid, are you?
Not at all. I'm not easily frightened.
Now, that I can believe.
Mr. Thorne, you were right about one thing. I do want position and security. I always have.
Even though it means being married to Lawrence Fury.
I'm very fond of my cousin.
That's not true. You don't give that to your cousin. You may not admit it even to yourself. But you know in your heart that position and security aren't enough. Not for a woman like you. You've left something out of the bargain. Something that this year or next year you're going to want. Passionately, Mrs. Fury. As I do. This way, quickly.
Well, Thorne, is this one of the results of tonight's business?
Yes. Did they get away?
Not all of them. We caught two. They're locked up in Mr. Weatherby's stables. We're having them brought up before the magistrate this morning.
I shall want you to come into Stafford, Thorne, immediately after breakfast.
Yes, Mr. Fury.
This mare seems in a pretty bad way.
She is, I'm sorry to say.
Will she recover?
Oh, yes, with care.
The foal's all right.
Oh, he's fine. It's the last she'll have, poor old lady.
Will she be any good for riding later on?
She won't be good for anything except a quiet life.
Well, I don't like useless animals about the place. If she can't earn her keep, have her destroyed.
Have her destroyed?
That's what I said, Thorne.
But I bred this mare. I broke her and schooled her myself. She was your your first wife's favorite hunter.
What has that to do with it?
You say her so she's no good now?
You don't understand. This mare's dam and sire were bred by Adam Fury himself. She's given us 5 of the best horses on the estate. Now because she's no use anymore, you say shoot her. I tell you, you can't have her destroyed.
Can't. I give orders here. My orders are for her to be shot. See that they're carried out. Come, Lawrence.
Louisa, I told you to go to bed.
I thought perhaps I'd better wait until you came back.
Came back? Where from?
From wherever you've been to, madam. May I help you?
Thank you.
And the foal. Did you see it?
Yes, Louisa. It's very pretty. Louisa, will you please shut the door to my husband's room? Now, Louisa, what exactly is on your mind? Is it about Mr. Thorne?
Yes, Miss Blanche. I'm afraid for you.
For me?
He's dangerous, Miss Blanche. Not only to himself, but to others. I've known him since he was a child. I've watched him grow up. I know how cruelly unhappiness has twisted his nature, and how bitterly he hates all the Fullers. I beg you to be cautious.
Well, goodbye, my dear. I'm sorry to take him away from you today, but we should be back this evening.
Goodbye, dearest. I wish I hadn't got to leave you, but you know how important it is.
Goodbye, Lawrence.
Hello. Hello. You, Mr. Great Day in Court. All the gentry in the county were there, including the Lord Lieutenant.
What was that for?
Old Simon Fury and the gypsies.
What did they get?
Remanded. Old Fury had his way. They'll be up at the assizes. They weren't half wild. Screaming threats at him as they were hauled out of the dock.
Oh, there's some tea for you on the stove. Good evening.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Thorne. Sit down. You got my message?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, quite an exciting afternoon in court.
Quite an exciting evening at Clare.
Yes. Still, you know, I wonder if Mr. Fury's right to be so harsh.
You don't think they deserved it?
Oh, it isn't that. They're a very vindictive lot. I'd advise him to keep a sharp lookout for a while.
Mr. Calamity, you didn't ask me here to tell me that, did you?
No.
Have you any news?
Yes, I have.
Well?
It's not very good news, Mr. Thorne, I'm sorry. There's the letter from our agents. There's no trace at all of the marriage ceremony you thought your mother went through in Italy with Adam Fury. No trace of it at all, in any of the places mentioned.
I see. So there's nothing more I can do?
I'm afraid not. The estate will ultimately go to the descendants of Lawrence, to his son if this marriage brings him one, if not to Lavinia Fury.
Lavinia Fuller.
Mr. Thorne, I'd like to give you a piece of advice. You're young and able, and the world is yours. Claire will never be. You're bound to suffer while you stay there. Why not go away? Don't you think it would be better for you? Seriously. I'm sorry I've been able to do only too little for you. Well, it's been, of course, particularly difficult. I mean, from the legal point of view.
You are?
Thank you.
Hello.
Me a whiskey.
Haven't seen you for weeks. Where have you been all this time?
Minding my own business.
Doesn't seem to have improved your manners. What do you keep your fine ways for the new mistress of Clare?
What's she like, Mr. Thorne?
She looks a bit of an eye stepper to me.
Married the young un, didn't she? I was betting on her marrying his pa.
If you ask me, she'd have done better if she had.
I bet Mr. Thorne hasn't been wasting his time since she arrived, eh, boys?
Hey, what are you doing?
You should be careful what you say. Another whiskey.
You can take these when you go, and I'd be obliged if you take your custom elsewhere.
Mr. Simon and Mr. Lawrence will not be back before 10:30. They are dining with the Lord Lieutenant. A message has just come.
Who brought it?
Mr. Thorne. He arrived a minute ago.
After all I'm getting on, one day the place will be yours.
If you want me to run it, Father, I can only say that I should like nothing better. But to do that, I must have more authority.
Authority is not something that one is given, Lawrence. One takes it, because it is in one to take it. You must impose your authority on the estate.
Yes, Father.
What are you thinking of?
You. And Claire.
You could never change, could you? A little while ago, I thought you could. I thought you had. But you could never change.
Isn't it you who've changed?
Perhaps I have. Do you want me to give up Claire and go away with you?
Would you?
I don't know. I don't know myself as well as I did. You wouldn't leave Claire, though, would you?
I can't. There's something stronger than me in this. Something that was decided for me long ago. Even before I was born.
Philip, we've got to get away from here. Something dreadful will happen if we don't. I know it. I'll go with you. I'll go anywhere with you.
Are you afraid?
Yes.
Of me?
No, for you, for both of us. We have to choose.
There's no choice for me, Blanche. I'm rooted here, like an unwanted tree that nothing can destroy.
Nothing can destroy you, Philip. Except yourself.
What if I do?
You would destroy me, too. What's that? It's nothing. I thought I heard the carriage.
Yes, it'll always be like that. You should always be listening for something or someone.
Philip.
What will you do now? Go back to your home, to your room, to your husband?
I can't. I hate him. I hate them both if only they were dead.
If only they could die.
Time for a glass of pork and a sandwich, surely, after a long ride like that. Thank you.
I've told you made a very stirring speech in court, Fury.
So did the gypsies. You should have heard them. You know, they threatened Father's life.
I shouldn't worry about that.
Good day's work, I call it. All that remains now is for the judge of assizes to finish it off. So much for the gypsies. Yes, indeed.
All the same, my dear Fury, I shouldn't entirely ignore their threats.
Help yourself.
What can they do? They're under lock and key.
Only two of them. The rest of the tribe are at large. From what I hear, feeling amongst them is running high.
Keep a couple of loaded guns handy. That's what I do.
Well, that's easy enough.
Well, Lawrence.
A little sherry?
Aren't we going to have the pleasure of seeing your charming wife this evening?
I don't know. Banks, has Madam retired yet?
I think so, sir, but I'm not certain.
I'll go and see.
Whiskey for Major Fraser.
When am I going to have those earrings you promised me?
Any day now, tomorrow if you like. Good. I'll tell Lawrence to attend to it personally. Have some more pork.
Go. Oh, thank you.
Who is it?
It's me, dear.
Oh, come in.
Blanche, here we are, my dear.
Lawrence. I was beginning to wonder what had happened to you.
Why, nothing at all. We're all safe and sound.
Who is all?
Fraser and Weatherby are here, and Jenkins. I promised them you'd come down and charm them for a few minutes.
That was rather a rash promise, dear.
Ah, I'm afraid they're counting on it.
I'm afraid they're going to be disappointed.
Oh, you can easily slip your dress on again.
Lawrence, I don't wish to.
It isn't a matter of whether or not you wish it, my dear. Here is your husband requesting you to come downstairs and be charming to his friends.
Here is your wife, Lawrence, requesting to be excused.
Ah, but I'm afraid you can't do that.
No? I think I can.
Are you seriously refusing?
Surely, Lawrence, I made myself perfectly clear.
Not to me, I assure you. I assure you. I find your behavior completely incomprehensible.
You may remember that...
And not only incomprehensible, but indefensible. Indefensible.
May I say something?
I have no wish to hear any excuses, Blanche, for your behavior in this relatively small, but I may add, highly significant...
Will you listen to me? Please. You are mistaken, Lawrence, in thinking that I intend to excuse myself. I merely wish to say this. We are at the beginning of our married life, so it is as well that we should understand one another. I have no intention, Lawrence, contrary to the fashion of our times, of being ordered about by my husband.
Is that all you have to say?
For the moment, yes.
Very well. I myself can only say that I'm surprised and hurt, Blanche. I will discuss the matter again with you when you're in a more ladylike frame of mind. Good night. Are you going to persist in this attitude, Blanche? I didn't say anything at breakfast because of Father, but I think it's gone on quite long enough.
Yes?
If you intend our marriage to be a struggle for authority, let me tell you, I shall win. A wife doesn't oppose her husband, she obeys him. Incidentally, that's my father's wish, too. What do you think he'd say if I told him of your behavior?
All right, let him go. Don't come through that gate! Oh, boy. Let him. Come on! Get after him! Work him back this way towards me! I asked him not to come through that gate.
I'm not a stable boy. I dislike being shouted at on my own estate.
Not that way! Send Williams and Lamb run behind him!
Are those the two yearlings from Mr. Weatherby?
They were.
Well, you wasted your time. Why didn't you wait until I arrived before choosing them?
I find this interest in the estate unexpected. In the past, you and your father have left these matters to me.
From now on, everything is going to be different. In future, you will take your orders from me. I am going to manage the estate.
Do you think you know enough to do that?
I know enough to dispense with you. I'll see that you're dismissed. You can clear out. You don't belong here anymore.
Hello, Gypsy. What are you doing here by yourself? Ames! Yes, sir. Who did this, Ames? Mr. Lawrence. I'm sorry.
Blanche, you hurt?
No.
Lawrence, quickly, get the guns. Blanche, rouse the household. Send the men out.
There he is.
Quarters.
What did you do?
I loaded a gun and ran out in the garden.
I see. And you were among the first to reach the scene of the crime?
Yes, Elliot and Ames got there a few moments before I did.
When you arrived, this had already been found?
Yes.
Could you say whether you'd ever seen this before?
No. Seen dozens like it. It's just a common type of gypsy earring.
Quite so. You knew of the gypsy's threats against Mr. Fury's life?
Yes, everybody did.
Yes, that is all, Thorne, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Tell the others I shall not want to question them any more. I'm afraid there's no doubt about it, Mrs. Fury. Your husband and your uncle were the victims of gypsy vengeance. I warned your uncle, but it appears he refused to take my warning seriously. This is a terrible tragedy for you. I don't have to tell you that you have the sympathy of everyone in the neighborhood.
You're very kind, Major Fraser.
And one thing more, Mrs. Fury. You may have to testify about this at the inquest. That man you saw at the window. That is all that you can say for certain.
Yes, Major Fraser. Well, Thorne?
May I have a word with him, Mrs. Fury?
I'll say goodbye. Please don't trouble to see me out. And once more, my deepest sympathy.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Good day, Thorne.
Philip, my dearest.
Do you ask more questions?
Nothing important. He believes us.
Oh, no reason why he shouldn't. Even a clever man would have found nothing suspicious, and he's a fool.
You can't be too careful, Philip.
I'm sure he won't find any evidence. That's all I care about.
What did you do with the things you wore? The handkerchief and the hat?
Under the floorboards, the old summer house. I had to hide them quickly and get back.
I've been so afraid for you, Philip. It all happened so suddenly.
It's all happened exactly as I said it would. Quickly, and in such a way that no one need ever know. Night's over, and you're free. And so is Claire, at last. We can do what we like without caring about anyone.
Don't risk everything now for want of a little patience.
I've been patient all my life, Blanche.
I know.
When am I going to see you again? Alone.
My darling. We can't. We mustn't. Not yet. It's too dangerous. We must only meet when other people are there. For a little while.
Aren't you exaggerating?
That'll be all, Thorne. Perhaps be good enough to see that the affairs of the estate go on exactly as usual.
Gentlemen of the jury, you upon your oath do swear that the said Simon and Lawrence Fury were found dead on the 25th day of May in this present year in the Italian garden of Clare Hall, and that the cause of death was in each case a gunshot wound but that there is insufficient evidence to say by whom those gunshots were fired. And you do further say that these gunshots were discharged by a person or persons unknown, feloniously, that is to say, with intent to murder. And now, gentlemen, this court is agreed that there are definite indications that these crimes were the work of a band of lawless rogues and vagabonds. And I am sure I speak for the whole community in demanding.
Excuse me, madam. Mr. Thorne is here to see you. He's waiting in the drawing room.
Thank you. Philip.
Why do you stand there, my love? Come in. Come in.
What are you doing?
Nothing I haven't a right to do, at last.
Shh, don't speak so loudly. You must be out of your mind behaving like this.
My dear Blanche, you aren't losing confidence in me now, are you?
Philip, don't be absurd. Do you think that because of today's verdict, suspicion will never fall on you? Do you want to attract the attention of people to the very fact that you had motives? My darling, if anything should happen to you now, I don't know what I should do.
Don't worry, nothing will happen. I can deal with anything now. Anything and anyone.
All the same, we agreed not to see each other for the time being. You must go back to your own quarters.
Are you keeping me out of the house now?
Philip, what's the matter with you today? You're not yourself.
On the contrary, today I am myself.
There's something strange about you, Philip. I don't like it.
I think it would be a good idea to make some changes among the servants. We could start on Banks. I've never liked him. He's too old.
Philip, will you go, please?
This is my house as well as yours, my dearest Blanche. Our house, at last. For us to love, for us to live in, and one day for us to leave to our children.
Philip, the heir to this house is Lavinia.
Yes, of course. Another of the same breed.
The fact remains, Philip.
The fact doesn't remain, Blanche. Nothing remains. Nothing and no one ever shall remain between me and the absolute possession of Claire. I thought you would have realized that. By now.
You are out of your mind. You are out of your mind. Philip! Philip! Now listen to me. And never forget what I'm going to say to you. If ever you were to harm, or even try to harm, one hair of that child's head, if ever I see you make the slightest threat to her, I shall destroy you, Philip.
My dear Blanche, what an absurd idea. I begin to think the events of the last few weeks have been working on your mind.
Please go now, Philip.
As you wish.
Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Gladys. Where is Lavinia?
She went out riding early this morning. You know what she is nowadays. You can't keep her away from that pony.
I hope she hasn't gone far.
Oh, no, only to the paddock where the jumps are.
Who is with her?
One of the grooms, madam. Elliot, I think.
Do you think you can do it?
Oh, yes. Dandy can jump anything, can't you, Dandy?
Well, I'll come over with you to give you a lead. Are you ready?
Yes, come on.
And off we go.
Mr. Thorne!
Were you suggesting that Miss Lavinia should attempt that jump?
She wants to try it. Don't you, Lavinia?
Oh, do let me try.
You know perfectly well that a child of that age on such a small pony couldn't possibly take a jump of that height with safety.
Oh, Aunt Blanche, I'm sure I can.
No, dear. It isn't possible.
That's a matter of opinion.
Mr. Thorne, in future, Miss Lavinia will ride with Ames. She'll do no more jumping for the present.
Very well. As you wish.
This is a very serious accusation, Mrs. Fury.
I have not made it lightly, Major Fraser.
What do you think could have been his motive?
He'd been told that day that he might be dismissed from Clare. You can imagine what that meant to him.
You say now you're sure that it was his face that you saw at the window?
Yes.
Why didn't you say so the other day?
The other day, I wasn't sure. I didn't realize then that he was capable of such a thing.
But what has happened since to convince you?
Yesterday, he made an attempt on Lavinia's life, too.
On Lavinia's life? But what possible motive could he have for that?
It's very simple, Major Fraser. He regarded Lavinia as the only obstacle between himself and the absolute ownership of the estate.
But Mrs. Fury, surely if Lavinia were dead, Claire would belong to you.
Mr. Thorne expected to marry me, Major Fraser.
He expected to marry you?
We loved one another.
Mrs. Fury, you realize if Thorne is brought to trial, you may be questioned about this in public.
My intention is to answer any question that may be put to me.
Very well. I'll issue a warrant for his arrest. I admire your courage, Mrs. Fury. I realize what this must have cost you.
Did she send you here to talk about this?
No. But she told me very frankly about your feelings towards each other.
When did she do that?
Many weeks ago now, when she first came to see me.
I tell you today that it's occurred to you to ask me not to speak of it in court. Why was that?
There are two reasons, Thorne. The first is the state of Mrs. Fury's health. Second, that I heard a day or two ago that you intend to conduct your own defense.
Is it really Mrs. Fury you're trying to protect? Or just the good name of the county's oldest family?
Look here, Thorne.
All right. What do I care? So it would be better if it weren't mentioned, eh? And she's lucky. It so happens that I don't want it mentioned either. I don't want anything except some clean clothes. Can you arrange that, Major Fraser?
I'll see what can be done. Is there anything else you need?
Can you say with truth that these are not the handkerchief and earrings in question?
No.
In fact, to the best of your belief, they are the same that you received from the prisoner and subsequently handed back to him.
Yes.
Thank
Prisoner at the bar, do you wish to cross-examine this witness?
Yes. You say that to the best of your belief, these are the earrings and handkerchief that I gave you. But in fact, have you not seen countless others of exactly this pattern, worn and sold by gypsies all over the countryside?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Ames, it seems that you and Mr. Elliot had time to move the bodies and ascertain that they were dead before the prisoner joined you, which he did, according to both your statements, 3 or 4 minutes after your own arrival on the scene of the crime.
Yes.
Now, I should like the jury to pay the greatest attention to this. These three men were galvanized into action by the same signal, the sound of the two shots which killed the victims. They had approximately the same distance to run. Yet the prisoner, though young and in the flower of his strength, arrived 3 or 4 minutes after the others, who are neither so young nor so active. The prisoner has stated that he delayed long enough to load a gun. Gentlemen, will you please keep your eyes on me? Mr. Sanderson, will you take out your watch? Right. How long, Mr. Sanderson?
22 seconds.
22 seconds, gentlemen.
Prisoner at the bar, do you wish to cross-examine this witness?
Yes. Ames, do you remember that when I arrived on the scene of the crime, I said something to you?
Yes, Mr. Thorne.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes, Mr. Thorne. You said, "What's happened, Ames? I was woken up by the sound of shots."
Thank you. I merely wish to point out, my lord, that I also had to throw on a few clothes, since when the crime occurred, I was in bed.
You knew, of course, that the prisoner regarded himself as having been disinherited by your family.
Yes.
Do you think it would be fair to say that he was obsessed by this feeling?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore, would it be correct to say that, in fact, the prisoner hated both your uncle and your husband?
Yes.
But he remained in their employ because of his passionate obsession for the estate?
Yes.
Mrs. Fiore, on the day on which the crime was committed, the prisoner was told by your husband that he was to be dismissed from Clare, was he not?
That is so.
Thank you, Mrs. Fiore.
Prisoner at the bar, do you wish to cross-examine this witness?
Yes. Mrs. Fury, did you know that gypsies had threatened your uncle's life?
I did.
These garments which you found in the garden, aren't they typical of most gypsies?
Yes.
Up to the day of the crime, had you ever seen me wearing such garments?
No.
Anyone knowing these facts and none others would naturally assume that the crime had been committed by gypsies, wouldn't they?
Yes.
Indeed, on the morning after the crime, you declared that to be your belief, didn't you?
Yes.
But when you saw these clothes again, the day you found them in the garden, you took them to the police and said you'd changed your mind and come to the conclusion that I had worn them.
Yes.
Doesn't that seem illogical?
I had my reasons for believing it.
One of them being that I had threatened the life of Lavinia Fury
Yes.
by encouraging her to attempt a dangerous jump.
Yes.
Was she unwilling to attempt it?
No.
Who said it was too dangerous?
I did.
Will you admit that my experience of horsemanship is infinitely greater than yours?
Of course.
And my judgment is therefore correspondingly more reliable than yours?
Provided you had no reason for doing something against your judgment.
What reason could there be?
Child was a Fuller. You hated all the Fullers.
Aren't you a Fuller?
Yes?
Did I hate you?
No.
Then you are wrong in saying that I hated all Fullers, are you not?
Yes.
You must be careful to speak the truth, Mrs. Fury.
I am on oath to do that.
I'm inviting you to try to find a reason why I might have wanted to threaten the life of Lavinia Fury.
She was the owner of an estate which you coveted.
Would her death have made me the owner of it?
Not in itself, no.
Mrs. Fury, your evidence is so pitifully weak. I suggest the truth is simply this. You brought this accusation for some personal motive.
Millard, I must object. The prisoner has no right to question the witness's integrity.
If the witness can repudiate the imputation, she should have the opportunity of doing so.
I merely suggest, my lord, that Mrs. Fury's long-standing dislike of me led her to seize this opportunity of disposing of me for good.
Silence in court.
Mr. Thorne, you know as well as I do that the truth is the reverse of what you say. So far from wishing harm to you, I only wished your happiness. And in sacrificing it, I sacrificed my own. It sometimes happens that a woman marries and then comes face to face with love when it's too late. I didn't think that any love could be as strong as ours until I realized that your love for Claire was stronger than us both.
Silence in court! Silence! Silence!
Have you any more questions to put to this witness?
Yes, my lord.
My lord, may I ask a privilege on behalf of this witness?
What privilege?
With respect, my lad, I would ask that the witness be permitted to give the rest of her evidence seated. Mrs. Fiore has been an exceptionally long time in the box, and I would add, she is expecting to become a mother.
In these circumstances, by all means, let the witness be seated. Prisoner at the bar, you may proceed.
I have no more questions to put.
Silence in court.
Gentlemen of the jury, are you agreed upon your verdict?
We are.
I'll find you. Is the prisoner Philip Thorne guilty or not guilty of murder?
Guilty.
And that is the verdict of you all?
Yes.
Prisoner at the bar, you have been convicted of the crime of willful murder. Have you anything to say why judgment of dying should not be given?
I am content, my lord.
Philip Thorne, the sentence of this court upon you is that you be taken from here to the prison from whence you came, that from thence you be taken to a place of execution, there to be hanged by the neck until you be dead. And may the Lord have mercy upon your soul.
So the prince and the princess returned to the castle, where a great ball was being given in their honor. And they lived together in great happiness, and had a little boy who was called after the prince, and a little girl who bore the name of the princess.
You better go if you're all right now, dear. We'll finish the story tomorrow.
Wasn't it a lovely story?
Who's going with you?
Ames.
Well, don't go too far, will you?
Good morning, Lavinia.
You saw him?
Yes.
What did he say?
I could get nothing out of him, Mrs. Fury.
How was he?
Calm, quite composed.
He sent no message at all.
No. I asked him if there was anything I could do or anything he wanted me to say. He only smiled and shook his head.
What time, Major Fraser?
At midday. Mrs. Fury, if you take my advice, you'll go away.
No, I can't do that. This is Lavinia's home. She loves it.
As for myself, going over it all again and again in my mind, I realize now that everything that happened was somehow inevitable. My destiny, too, will come to me, Claire. I'm sure of that.
Well, Mrs. Fury, if ever I can be of any help.
I'll walk round to the stables with you, Major Fraser.
Please don't trouble.
No, I should like to. It's such a lovely day.
Goodbye, Mrs. Fury.
Goodbye, Major Fraser. And thank you.
Have you any message you would like to send? Any letters?
No.
Is there anything you wish to say?
Nothing.
Ames,
Yes, ma'am?
I thought you were with Miss Lavinia.
No, Mrs. Fury. She said she had your permission to go out alone today.
Where's she gone?
She said she was going into the paddock, ma'am.
Are you ready?
Doctor! Doctor!
There's nothing more to be done. She may not even regain consciousness. Mrs. Fury? Mrs. Fury? Mrs. Fury? I've good news for you. You have a son. A strong, healthy boy.
You look after him, Louisa. I want him to be called Philip.
Philip Fury of Clare Hall. It has a good sound, hasn't it?